Welcome back, everyone, for another class. Today we are going to be doing a super fun little seahorse, and I wanted to show you two different samples just to show you that you can kind of do different shapes as far as like the head and the face and stuff, and it's all going to be okay. So I am going to go ahead and show you how I sketch this in. I am using a watercolor pencil rather than a regular pencil, just so those lines disappear. So the first thing I kind of want to do is kind of picture, where do I want the eye to be? So I kind of want that here towards the center. And so I'll kind of, if she's kind of looking forward there. Okay. And then from here, that helps me to place kind of like where this part. And I'll tell you, the more curve you give it here, the kind of funner, the more fun it's going to be. Funner is not a word. So look, I'm going to bring this down. Okay, and then you kind of have that trumpet area for her little snout. And look, this is going to come back. It'll slightly widen as it comes up. And then when it gets about here, kind of below her eye, that's where we're going to give her a little cute jawline here. The other key part that we want to think about that really kind of makes her delicate is making sure we've got some open space here. So this one you see comes straight down. That one's a little steeper angle. You could even come in at a curve that way, kind of matching what you have going on up here. And then we're going to swoop for the belly and bring it up. And then here we're going to come down for the tail. It's like making almost like a big J. And then I'm going to loop around, kind of run this kind of parallel to the other line. And then I'm going to make it start to get a little wider. And then I'm going to follow up. Now that might be a little skinny for her neck, so I can kind of come in and thicken that up a little bit. But that's going to be the basic part. Now I can kind of maybe put some little dash lines along here. As you can tell, we're going to be blowing today. So, you have to kind of let go and let it happen. The key thing is, depending on the direction that you want it to go, so like here on her head, we can even take some of these kind of almost in that forward direction, and then these can go out, but you need to get behind it when you blow that direction, and I'll remind you of that when we're getting ready to do that. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to bring a little bit of my, I didn't want my colors beforehand. Let's see here. Let me start over on that, because I had too much in my brush and kind of left that orange all over it. Okay. And I'll probably use the little black in the well to make it easy here, because I want to get a little bit of this. Now I'm also going to use a little bit of some crimson here. And I'll use that to kind of deepen, give me some different tones in my orange. And I'll take some of my cadmium yellow. And really it's just about kind of layering in color for texture. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a light staining layer, just establishes where her body is so I know where everything is. So I'm going to take a little bit of my cadmium red and my cadmium yellow. I'm going to use it a thinner consistency. I don't need heavy color right now. Especially like in here, I'll go ahead and pull some of that color over, and that's going to be my lightest area. So I don't need to necessarily go too dark on that. So I can start up in here, so I can kind of plan around her face. Remember, the key again is always working with your wet edges. So I'm going to stop at that point, and then here's where I'm just going to pull out that color. I rinsed my brush out. Okay, and plan plan for where that eye is going to go. I'm just going to kind of pull that around. So we want to leave her face a little lighter, so we kind of have that highlight to her face and make that the focal point. And so down here, and I'm just going to come right over that line. As you can almost see it dissolve away. That's why I like to use watercolor pencils for my sketching. Okay, again, I don't want to leave that hard line there, so I'm just going to kind of rinse out my brush, soften that all up. You know, I've done this one several times, several classes. I've done this on like cruise ships before, and it's always a lot of fun. Sometimes the blowing part can be a little tricky, but you know, it's one of those kind of fun ones. It's got that enough open interpretation that people can kind of make it their own. Okay, so again, I'm just going to kind of fill this in. So this is my staining layer. So now I know where things are going to go. I've got things planned out. Just kind of, so there, we've got her basic body shape, and that's really how simple the key part of this is. So while this is wet, I am going to start putting down some color that I can start blowing, and while I'm doing that, I'm letting other parts dry so I can kind of come in and layer some texture into this. So here's where I'll get my straw ready. So, you know, you do need to have, you know, a liquid movement to your color when you put it down in order to be able to get it to blow. So here I can dabble a little puddle there and see how I can pull that forward. And I tell you, I'm going to need probably more than what I've got here. So I'm going to go ahead and get some of that kind of ready there. And we'll do this more than once, and you know, I'm not worried about that. This is so playful. You know, we're just embracing what the watercolor wants to do. So again, so you can see how it's blowing. I really have to get almost behind it this way, so I may need to turn this to be able to get that right direction here. Some of this, and I want to make sure I get a little bit right in there. Okay, so while I've got that first layer in, okay, the thing I want to come in now with the damp brush is this little edge here where I've got that hard line. Okay, I'm just going to come in and soften it out. I can lift some of it, kind of blend it. I just see how much nicer that looks rather than leaving this hard line. Okay. And I can pull some of that in under here. I might bring just a tiny bit of some burnt sienna into here, right here, just to kind of warm that orange up a little bit. It'll kind of deepen it, still keep it in that same tone. Okay. So I'm going to blot a little. I've got a lot of color in my brush, and I'm just going to blot a little bit of that off. And so here, while I'm waiting for that to dry a little bit, is I'm going to come in under here, and I'm just going to kind of tap it in. And see how I'm leaving some like open space, some white space. And that's what's going to kind of create that texture part. just tap, 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 tap. I'll bring that all the way kind of down the tail. Come on this side. So remember, leave some open space so you got in between here and kind of dot a little bit of that together. But I'm going to keep her face a little on that lighter side right now. Okay, so at this point, I'll come and work on her face a little bit. And I want to keep this a little brighter. So here's where I'm going to pull a little bit of that yellow into my orange mixture. Bring some of this in, bring that around, and then now I'll just, with a damp brush, just kind of pull that up. I just love what that little kind of sunny yellow does for my oranges and stuff in here. Again, I can kind of come in and tap some of that in over top of there. Can you see that transition there that's happening to that color? That's the cool thing about watercolors, where the colors are transparent and you see through them, and you kind of get that, you know, layering effect. I don't have to put it everywhere. Here, there, okay. So you can see already how quickly she is coming along. And then this gives me a chance, I'm going to come back and blow a little bit more. So I have lots of choices on what kind of color I can use, a color that's a little more golden, or I can use that little deeper, warmer orange where I added the burnt sienna. I might pick something between that. But you can see it, you know, like it doesn't take much. I'm going to, like I said, keeping her face light, so she's, that's kind of that focal point. So here, let me grab a little bit of this. I think I kind of like that there. So again, I'm going to tap in some little petals. Okay. I'd say the trick to this is blowing abruptly. Okay. I like how when they crisscross like that, so this is given a little bit of time for her face to dry. Because remember, if our paint's too wet, we're not going to be able to get the detail. So if you see on this one here, if you can, try to leave a little bit of a white space for the eye reflection. If you don't, you can always add it in later. This one I made her eye a little different than that one, so either way is fine if you are more comfortable doing one over the other. So when I use my black, I want it a nice inky color here. And here's where I'm going to just blot out the belly of the brush a little bit, so I don't have too much water wanting to push that out too quickly. And so here I'm gonna. So remember, if your paper isn't quite dry enough, then you're going to start seeing some bleeding on this. So if you see that, stop and give it just another couple minutes to dry. So if I make that front edge, and here when I fill this in, so see, I could leave her eye like that, or I could fill it in just a little bit more and just kind of keep that little white space with some eye reflection. You know, because she's so cute, I could even, you know, kind of flick a couple little eyelashes on there too. All right. And then to finish this off, because it is such a playful watercolor, I would come in and add a little bit of splattering. I would probably tend to keep it off of her face, and just, you know, it's okay if some goes on her body, but just leave a little bit on her face. And this is a good one to practice some of those blowing techniques, so you build a little more confidence in it. I hope that you will take the time to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss any of my content. And you know, share it with your friends. I'm trying to build my YouTube channel, so you know, I can keep building content. And if you have any comments, I'd love to hear from you if you want to add any comments below. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.